Okay, so we will grab a pen and we'll do learning objective 3. So learning objective 3 introduces you to some concepts about the benefits and limitations of activity-based costing and a few other terms that are not financial. So it's great, but it's still terminology you have to be aware of. So we've been studying activity-based costing, ABC, and the benefits to activity-based costing and why it's used is it because it gives a much more accurate detail for the costs involved in producing a product. So there's more cost pools, and therefore you have more data. It can be more specific data, and so you can actually look at everything that's going into your product costs, particularly the bigger portions of it, what we call a cost driver. What does that do? Well, it actually, because you have a lot more detail, it actually gives you more control over the costs, particularly overhead costs. And so that's super important because you want to keep your costs as low as possible without affecting the quality of whatever you're making. And because you have more data, more cost pools, you can actually make much better decisions if you're a manager. Because you simply have a lot more data and you can be more specific and more confident that the decisions will pay off with hopefully lowering those costs or keeping them under control without affecting the quality of your product. So multiple cost pools is really important to understand because, as we've been seeing, there's usually lots and lots of activities going on in creating products. And so breaking those up into cost pools is a way, again, to provide more detail as to see what's going on. But also provide you the idea of saying, look, there's usually a main driver of those costs. When we're doing this activity, there's a main driver. When we're doing this other activity, there's a main driver. And those main drivers are really important to pay attention to. And so the cost drivers are something you were introduced to, and it's really important part of understanding how we control costs and how we allocate. What ABC is different at is allocating costs based on the activities that are being done. And usually there's certain activities that just are those cost drivers that take up much of what you're doing. So we have a lot more relevant costs data, and that's going to help us a lot. But it doesn't, of course, we have to break all this stuff down, and that's not particularly an advantage, but it is something that helps us get where we're going, as you'll see. So if you look at the company in the book, which was Atlas, and they do machining activities, you can see that there are the activity cost pools listed at the very top. Again, this is all to help break down and allocate overhead costs. We're not talking about materials. We're not talking about labor. We're looking specifically at overhead. And so within each activity are labeled here, there are very specific cost drivers for those activities. And so again, for painting in the middle here, the number of parts painted would be the cost driver there. In terms of the assembling area here, the number of parts that need to be assembled, obviously, the more parts that need to be assembled, the higher costs are going to be there, right? And so it really sort of depends on the activity. We can narrow things down for our cost drivers. And this is something that we've learned. This is something that's specific to, and why ABC, activity-based costing, is popular in some manufacturing areas. Here are some new terminologies that we're going to be learning that I talked to you about. How do we classify various activities? And so we learned about those activities. I'll go back to the last slide. Again, these are all the activity pools here. But how do we actually classify those activities? Well, there are 4 classifications as you see here. The first one that's introduced to you is called a unit level activity. And this is basically something that's performed for each unit of production. And so, for example, for the assembly of cell phones, there's something that's going to be performed on every unit of cell phones, whether that's putting on a screen, screwing a screw, what have you. These are all performed on each unit. Each cell phone is going to have that done to it. So that's an activity level that's classified as a unit level activity. And then you have something called a batch level activity. And so when a company goes ahead and produces another batch of a product, like, we need to produce more ice cream, right? So for every batch of ice cream that's produced, then that's a batch level activity. Okay. And then there are product level activities are specific to when a company produces a new type of product. That's specific here with product level. And so if a pharmaceutical company is producing a new drug, that's a new product. That new drug would be a new product. And so those would be product level activities associated with that production of a new drug. And the facility level activity, basically it's just required to support the entire process. And so it's considered facility level. You need a whole factory, you need a whole hospital, things like this. So these are just 4 ways of classifying activity levels that become part of the terms that you're going to have to be aware of and understand in this learning objective. There's a nice little illustration of it here in your book. If you have your book, it's on page 147 in the physical book, okay? And it's a lovely illustration, not that you'd want to print it out and post it in your room or something like this, but it does help you to identify what is a unit level activity versus what is a batch level activity versus what's a product level activity versus what's a facility level activity. And so the second column here actually lists the specific activities that would fall under each category or each level, okay? And then the actual cost drivers as part of those, the main cost drivers as part of that activity. Okay, so as a unit level activity, it might be, assembling parts or painting parts or sanding down parts or sewing parts. These types of activities are considered unit level. They're done to each unit of production. And so thus labor hours is your main cost driver. In a batch thing, you have, say, setups for equipment or purchase orders per batch. And so these become the activities that are related to batch level. And these are the specific cost drivers in those activities. Product level, because it's specific to a product, it's about product design, which has a lot to do with engineering that product. So these are the main activities here. And of course, these are the cost drivers for those activities. And lastly, you need a whole facility to get some stuff done. And so, you'll have plant managers, depreciation, property taxes on the factory or facility, and the cost drivers are listed here. So this illustration is going to become handy for your homework, and that's why I went over it. And then there are 2 other things that you have to know that are listed here. So One is called a value-added activity, and there's something called a non-value-added activity. And so a value-added activity, the word value-added should be key here. It increases the perceived value of your product or a service to your customers. So what would increase the perceived value? What would make it look more valuable? Well, for a manufacturing company, the type of engineering design, the design of a product might mean it's more valuable because it looks better, it's designed better than other products. It might be how it is assembled, painted, or other services for how it was put together. That all might increase the perceived value, the quality of the product to the public. And so thus it's a value-added activity. For a service company, they also have value-added activities. And so if a company is known for its surgical performances, if a legal firm is noted for their research, or how quickly or how reliable the delivering packages at UPS can be, for example. These are value-added activities because they increase the value of the product or service to customers and potential customers. However, there are also things that businesses do that adds cost to the product, but adds really no value to the public or to customers that you're doing it. So for example, in a manufacturing company, you got to store inventory, right? You got to do inspections of inventory. You got to set up machinery. Those are all costs that manufacturing companies have to go through to produce a product. And yet you and I don't think of it as a value added. It's well, these products are better because of how they store them. No. We see it, this product is better because it has a better design, or it's higher quality machinery and other things like this. This is assembly, rather. This is how we view things. But these are real costs that companies have that don't add to the perception of, it's a better product, it's made better, what have you. For a service company, as you see, there's a lot of things service companies do, costs that they have, and this is about costs, that you and I don't perceive as increasing the value of their service. So doctors' offices, law firms, they all have, reception, they all have appointments that you can be taken, they all have billing departments and so forth. They all have to do that. It adds costs to the company. But yet you and I as a potential customer don't look at that and say, oh, well, because they take appointments well, they must do surgery well. No, we don't see the connection there. It's non-value added activity. It's a cost that they have to do, but it doesn't add to the value of the product or service to its customers or potential customers. Mm-hmm. Oh, how fascinating. Tell me more, Professor Ruja. Okay, sure, here we go. Here's one that is just a definition. Companies that use activity-based costing, ABC, will also use activity-based management. So it's a tool that helps managers improve processes, reduce costs, and hopefully make better management decisions for, better decisions regarding how things can be done more effectively, more efficiently, increase quality, lower cost. I mean, it's all the same basic stuff. And so these are just tools that are used. If a company is using ABC, they're probably using an activity-based management tool as well to help them. Of course, everything that we do has advantages and disadvantages, right? Benefits and costs or limitations. So here are a couple of limitations for ABC. It's extremely expensive. It's extremely expensive because it takes up an enormous amount of time. And I think that you're going to have people do all that work. And so it's extremely expensive for the company to be doing. So it tends to be done by more larger companies that can actually scale the costs of doing it. And there's still arbitrary decisions that are being made. You know, there's still some, I don't know, but I'm gonna, but I'm adding it to there's a cost, I'm not really sure where to put it. It doesn't fall into this category or that category. There's still, but it's part of the costs. So there's still some arbitrary things going on regarding it. So ABC is a really good system. It's very useful to a lot of companies, but it does come with a few limitations. Those are the big ones. When a company should be using ABC is when their product lines are differ in complexity and volume. They have a number of different product lines, and those product lines are quite diverse. Overhead costs are major parts of building the product. The process that they use for manufacturing the product has changed significantly. Okay. And if the data that you do have is being ignored by the production managers and the market managers, it's time to use a new system to put data, more effective data in their face so they can use that. All right, so here is a do it exercise that's, of course, already done for you in the book. So I know they call it a do it exercise, but in the book it's a done it exercise because it's all done. And this shows us here that we have a toy company that manufactures 6 primary products, okay? And the accounting department has identified 8 activity cost pools. Each toy product is produced in very large batches. And the entire plant is devoted to one product at a time. The entire facility is devoted to one product at a time. So they have listed here A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. They have, that's 8 different aspects here, activities. And they want you to classify the activities as either unit level, batch level, product level, or facility level. And this is, again, where that illustration I was showing you would come in handy for you. And so for A, the engineering design, well, engineering design is about the product. Okay? Engineering is creating the product. And so that would be a product level classification. Okay, A would be product level. The machine setup, well, that very specifically, right, has to be done every time the product is produced on the assembly line. So that ends up being a batch level activity. Okay. Toy design, in this case, designing the toy is part of that creation of the product. And so it's going to be a product level activity. Hiring and interviewing of potential employees. Well, the reason you need employees in the first place is because you need people in the facility to get the job done. So that becomes a facility level activity. Inspections done after every setup. Well, again, you're only doing setups for every batch that you do. So this is also a batch level. When you are polishing the parts of everything, well, you're going to be polishing every single unit, right? You're not going to polish some and not others. You're going to do the whole thing for every single unit. So that is a unit level classification of activity. Assembling of the parts, again, you're going to do that for every single unit. Every single unit needs to be assembled in order to be, sold. So it's a unit that's going to happen to every single unit you produce. And in terms of health and safety measures, that's for everybody involved. So that applies to the entire facility. And so that's a facility level activity. Oh, and look at this. They have these already done for me. And now you know the secret. But of course, this is right in your book. So no problem here. So I'll go ahead and see if there's any questions on this.